The UUCT care team follows up with congregants who are experiencing joys or sorrows. The care team also addresses needs of congregants. The care team can be contacted by email at careteam@uutampa.org. And now to our service.
Good morning and welcome. Before we begin our service, let us take a moment to share in our stone ritual. I place a stone for our joys. One for our sorrows. And one for our intentions for the coming week.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. I'm Fran Davin, your worship associate for this morning, and we want to welcome you. We welcome all people of goodwill. Whether you believe in God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome. Regardless of whom you love, you are welcome. And regardless of where you are on your life's journey, you are welcome.
Okay, and welcome everybody. We're going to sing number 346 in our great hymnal, Come Sing a Song with Me.
We open our service this morning with the chalice lighting. It is entitled Deepening the Spirit by Cynthia Landrum. We light this chalice this beacon that calls us to love, to justice, to a deepening of our spirits.
Hello, my name is Erin Powers, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. And today I have a story for you written by one of my colleagues, Tim Atkins, and this is called The Umbrella Sanctuary. So once upon a time, there was a young girl who was caught outside in a sudden thunderstorm. She ran inside to the nearest store to wait out the storm. As soon as she closed the door, a bright flash and a loud boom of thunder followed. The girl knew she would be stuck in that store for quite a while. She started to look around at some of the different items in the store when the shopkeeper appeared. The shopkeeper was the oldest woman the girl had ever seen. Her hair was as white as the snow, and her face all wrinkly. The young girl was brave enough to admit she was a little scared. "Young woman," said the old shopkeep, "can I help you with something?" The little girl pointed to outside, too afraid to talk. "Ah," said the old shopkeep, "did you run in here to escape the rain?" The little girl nodded slowly as another loud boom of thunder shook the store. "Well, you can wait here if you'd like in my little sanctuary. We've got a nice sturdy roof over our heads, and it will keep you safe and dry." The little girl appreciated the offer, but she really needed to get back outside and continue on her way. And the shopkeep could tell that the little girl was hesitating. "Or," continued the shopkeep, "you could head back outside with this." And the old shopkeep went behind the counter and pulled out an umbrella. "Take this umbrella," said the old shopkeep. "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." The little girl beamed, but then stopped in her tracks. "I don't have any money." And the shopkeep waved her off. "No worries. Just be sure to offer the umbrella to someone else when they need it." So the young girl accepted the umbrella, headed back outside, opened up her umbrella, and went on her way. The girl was happy and dry. She started skipping down the street, and she saw a man wearing a suit trying to keep dry with a newspaper over his head. She heard another loud boom, and the newspaper began to fall apart under the heavy rain. She skipped over to the man in the suit and held the umbrella up as high as she could. "Thank you," said the man. Remembering the words from the old shopkeep, the little girl told the man, "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry with me under this portable sanctuary." The man smiled in relief. He had been having a really bad day. He was wearing a suit because he was on his way to a job interview. He had been without work for a long, long time and was desperate. He had to walk to the interview because he couldn't afford a car. When it started to rain, he cursed his luck. He would show up to his really important job interview soaked, and he knew it would make a really bad first impression. The little girl spotted her family in the store across the street. "Here," said the little girl, "take the umbrella with you. I see my family right over there across the street." "Oh, I couldn't take your umbrella," said the man, feeling guilty. "No, take it. Just be sure to offer the umbrella to someone else when they need it." and the girl put the umbrella into his hands and then ran off to meet her family. The man couldn't believe how nice the young girl was. He knew he had to hurry, though, because it was almost time for his very important interview. Another boom of thunder caused him to start running. Well, I can tell you that the man got that job he was interviewing for. And soon enough, he was able to afford to buy a few umbrellas of his own. Whenever it would rain, he would not only bring his umbrella that the little girl had given him, he would bring 2 more small umbrellas to give away to people who were stuck outside in the rain. And every time he gave an umbrella away, he would say, "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." And soon everyone in their town had an umbrella that they would take with them. And if the townspeople passed by someone without an umbrella, they would give up their own umbrella and pass on the words, now known by the entire town: "I don't know why it's raining, but I do know that you can keep dry under this portable sanctuary." And with that, our story ends.
Our meditation for today is entitled Love is a Choice. It is by Carter Haywood, and Miss Haywood is a feminist theologian and one of the first 11 women that were ordained as Episcopal priests. And she tells us, we are not automatic lovers of self, of others, the world, or God. Love does not just happen. We are not love machines, puppets on a string. Love is a choice, not simply or necessarily a rational choice, but rather a willingness to be present to others without pretense or guile. Love is a conversion to humanity, a willingness to participate with others in the healing of this broken world and broken lives. Love is the choice to experience life as a member of the human family, a partner in the dance of life, rather than as an alien in the world or as a deity above the world, aloof and apart from human flesh.
Hello, everybody. Our next hymn is number 34 in your hymnal, Though I Speak with Bravest Fire. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, as prophets soon turn strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free.
Our next reading was chosen by our minister, and it is entitled Extremists of Justice by the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spirit, begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish truth. Through violence, you murder the hater, but you do not murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists will we be? Will we be extremists for love or for hate? Will we be extremists for the prevention of violence or for the extension of justice? Reverend Kathy Schmitz is our guest minister for today. Reverend Schmitz has served congregations in Massachusetts, Texas, Miami, and Orlando as both a settled parish minister and as an interim. Now she is semi-retired and lives in Orlando with her husband, Charlie Behrens. Reverend Schmitz asks us, if our goal is to create a peaceful, just, and sustainable future, our choices matter. Which choices will lead to bitterness? Which choices may lead to beloved community? Reverend Schmitz.
Lamar Glover is an adjunct professor of physics at California State University. When speaking on the topic of flat earthers, those folks who believe that the earth is not a sphere but rather a disc or plane, Glover had this to say. So every flat earther shouldn't be held with contempt, but serve as a reminder of a scientist that could have been, someone who fell through the cracks. And we, as ambassadors of science, are called to do more, right? So scientists of varying degrees of professionalism, consider becoming a mentor to someone who is coming from a non-traditional point of entry to the sciences, end quote. Become a mentor. Don't belittle, don't denigrate, don't create resentment or bitterness. Become a mentor. Reach out a hand, invite others in. Share your umbrella. This may require a change in behavior, our behavior. It may also require a change in attitude, our attitude. Because the thing is, I can't remember a time I changed my beliefs because someone put me down. If we want to encourage people to new ways of thinking, we may just need to start by checking our own stuff. We may have to heed the words of Carter Hayward, from whom we heard earlier, when she said, "Love is active, effective, a matter of making reciprocal and mutually beneficial relation with one's friends and enemies." If we want to change the world, we may first need to change ourselves. Because I don't just want to invite folks to understand the geometry of planet Earth. I want to invite people to help create a shared vision of what is possible on our precious blue marble. I want to create a world in which our debates are not about the shape of our world, but rather how best to live sustainably on it. I want to create a world in which we are not arguing about whether or not there is systemic justice, but one in which we're searching together for ever more ways to have justice flourish. I want to create a world in which even life's inevitable conflicts are handled in ways that are constructive and generous and healthy. In other words, I want to be part of creating the beloved community, and I want everyone else to be part of it too. This term, beloved community, was popularized by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. back in the 50s and 60s. We throw it around a lot today. I do wonder if we all mean the same thing when we say it, understand the same thing when we hear it. Beloved means to deeply love. What would it mean for community to be deeply loved? I think such a community is the world of our dreams, is heaven here on earth, is that elusive thing that we might believe, just might believe is possible. It's the North Star on which we set our gaze, even though we know we will never arrive. Beloved community is our imagination's vision of what is possible. It is a vision that we deeply love. You and I might not share exactly the same vision, though I guess that our visions are closer to each other than either is to the world we live in today. I'd love it if we could spend our time creating shared visions and working to make them happen. But I've come to realize that some people have very different visions than me. Many years ago, when I was living in the Northeast United States, there was a blizzard coming. So we hopped off to Blockbuster to pick up some videos for our snow day. We got there and picked up several we knew, and then I grabbed what I thought looked like a B-grade science fiction movie. But partway through viewing this video, it took a turn I did not see coming, and I found myself sitting wide-eyed. I realized that the Secretary General of the United Nations was the Antichrist, and the way one could tell, according to the movie, was that the Antichrist had the goal of world peace. And everyone apparently knew that that's what the Antichrist would want, and how we'd know they were the Antichrist. What? That was my first exposure to the Left Behind series of books and movies, novels about a possible end time from an apocalyptic Christian point of view. More than that, it was the first time in my optimistic life that I realized that some people really didn't want the same thing as me, didn't share a remotely similar version to the world as it could be. It was disorienting. I am no longer so naive, but I haven't completely given up my optimism. Just about 4 years ago, I changed my Facebook banner. Ever since then, it has read, Unity. It means all of us. I was thinking about unity back then, and I'm thinking about it now. And I think it's an important part of any conversation about beloved community. What I meant when I first put it up was that if you want unity, then there must be inclusion and justice for all. Immigrants, Blacks, Indigenous peoples, people of color, members of the LGBTQ plus community, people living with disabilities, and women, and more. Everyone. What I mean now is that if we want unity, then we will have to find a way to include everyone, even those folks who do not yet want to include other folks. And oh heck, what a hassle. Can't those people just go away? Well, they probably aren't going to go away. We have to share the planet with them, whatever shape it is. We can silence them and take away their power. I certainly think we should avoid letting them drive the bus. But we don't need to belittle them or disparage them. We don't need to create unnecessary bitterness and resentment. Now, I'm not saying that we negotiate with terrorists. It doesn't mean we compromise with racists or homophobes or sexists. It does mean that we have to keep the end goal of sight, the ever-evolving vision of the world as it could be and should be. It does mean that we have to be willing to say over and over again, hey, we're going this way. We invite you to come along. We need to mentor. We need to practice love. Love that is active, effective, a matter of making reciprocal and mutually beneficial relation with one's friends and enemies. We need to be non-violent, not just physically, but also psychologically and spiritually. We need to hold out the possibility that redemption and reconciliation are possible. With our Universalist forebearers, we need to believe that all people can be saved, that is, brought back into right relationship. I'm not saying this is easy. I am saying that this is the work to which we are called. As Dr. King has said, the aftermath of violence is bitterness. The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community. The aftermath of nonviolence is redemption and reconciliation. King contends that by seeking to transform and redeem and create friendship, we create the possibility of community without bitterness and friction. So, it is up to us to choose the aftermath with which we want to live. Because the way we live in beloved community is also the way to beloved community. One way that this change of behavior has been framed in recent years is that rather than calling people out, we call them in. Rather than shame and alienate folks, we invite them back to healthy relationship. One of the gifts of our Unitarian Universalist congregations is that our communities are places where we can practice behavior, the kind of behavior we want to see and use out in the world. So, to make this rather grand goal of creating beloved community by way of world peace a little easier to relate to, I'd like to share a few stories from the first congregation I served, because while the context is more contained, the principles are the same. I had been at the congregation for about 6 years when I was about to head out on a sabbatical. The congregation had had some significant conflict just before I arrived, and we had been working together to learn new ways to be community. Days before I left on my sabbatical, someone blurted out in panic, "What if we have a conflict while you're gone?" I realized that I was getting way more than my fair share of credit for their improved state. They were the ones who had been willing to learn and change. I knew they could do it, but apparently they didn't. I felt like Dumbo's magic feather. They thought they needed me, but they didn't. I said, if there's a conflict, just ask yourself, what's the next right thing? What will help us get back to health? And they did, and I had a wonderful sabbatical. It was in that congregation that I developed my conviction that we, as Unitarian Universalists, have an obligation to create healthy communities within our congregations. Over the years, I've encountered many people who had trouble playing well with others. They may have had and often did other fine qualities. Still, their community-breaking behaviors were problematic. What I learned was that if the community itself was strong and healthy, Challenging people could be involved and the community could still prevent harm. 2 more stories from that congregation that was learning so much. A couple of years into my time there, a person with a strong personality and many gifts was also causing much trouble. So much that the board decided to remove him from membership and bar him from the campus. It was heart-wrenching. The congregation was alarmed. Unitarian Universalists accept everyone, don't they? Well, yes, said the board, but we don't accept every behavior. The congregational meeting was held and the discussion explored. In the end, the congregation understood, thanked the board for its leadership, and asked them to put processes in place that would prevent such things from getting to this point again. It was a turning point. The congregation now knew they could take steps to keep their community safe and healthy. They could expect accountability, and they committed to continue to grow. It may have been a turning point for the individual as well. Last I heard, he had started attending another UU church, much bigger, more urban, and more used to dealing with challenging behavior. They had policies and procedures in place to manage this person's more problematic behaviors, and last they knew, he was a successful member. If we are healthy congregations, we can include people who often find it hard to be included. Another story that exemplifies the growth of that congregation. The minister of 10 years that had served before I did had had a negotiated resignation. You could say she resigned under pressure, just short of being fired. The congregation had done a lot of work to recover from the conflict and controversy that surrounded that departure. So now within the first month that I was there, I found myself on the phone with Richard. Richard had been one of the key players in the controversy that ended the previous ministry. He was one of those people with abundant energy who does a lot of good stuff and is also a pain in the neck. I was explaining to Richard that people were upset with the way he was running his committee. He could not hear my input. He resigned not only as chair but from the committee. He stopped attending congregational events. For the next 2 years, I would ask his friends how he was doing, but there was little else I could do. During the time that Richard was away, I learned more about the conflict that happened before I had arrived. One person had this to say about it. The minister made some mistakes, but we, the leaders, did a lot wrong too. I wish we had been more skilled in how to handle a difficult situation. Over the years, the congregation worked to develop its skill and learn how to handle behavior that was not helpful to the community. Eventually, Richard started coming round again. But the congregation he re-entered was not the same one he had stormed out of. They had learned a lot and grown plenty. At the beginning of my 6th year with the congregation, in a membership committee meeting, Richard began to make over-the-top comments about the congregation as a whole. I called him out on that behavior. He did not like it. I wish I had called him in. But it's what happened next that is noteworthy. Over the next week, Richard went around the congregation to official leaders and also to those people who held informal power. He told them I was bad. He told them I shouldn't be allowed to have my upcoming sabbatical. He told them they should get rid of me. For the congregation, it was déjà vu all over again. Except for one thing. It was not the same congregation it had been the last time Richard tried to get rid of a minister. To a person, they said, "Well, Richard, what did Kathy say when you sat down and talked with her about this?" And since he hadn't, they didn't listen to his complaints anymore. If he wanted to address his concerns, he needed to address them with the person he was concerned with, in this case me. Within a week, Richard had stopped his destructive behavior. I continued my ministry in the congregation, took my sabbatical, and 2 years later left to pursue professional and personal adventure. It was the first ministerial departure without controversy that the congregation had experienced in 50 years. I'm proud of this story. You might think I'm proud because I survived an attack by someone with a history of destroying ministers. That's not why I'm proud. I'm proud because Richard survived. Richard survived not because of anything I did, but because of what the congregation and its leaders did. They responded to destructive behavior with healthy behavior. In doing so, they not only prevented another abrupt ministerial departure, they also helped Richard control his behavior when he could not do it himself. They refused to let him do harm, and they still loved him. Some people think that the way to deal with destructive behavior is to get rid of the people exhibiting the behavior. And while in extreme cases, this may sometimes be necessary, it is almost always best to deal with a destructive behavior by challenging the behavior itself. We can say to people in our congregations, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, our government, our world, hey, we're going this way. We think it is the way to unity, to beloved community, to a peaceful, just, and sustainable world for all. We practice this in our covenantal tradition where we are brought together by shared ideas about how to be together rather than specific behaviors or beliefs about the cosmos. We have the opportunity to be intentional about building health in our communities and taking our learning out into the world, to continue learning from each other and those around us, to deepen our understanding and widen our perspective, so that the elusive world of our dreams, that heaven on earth, that beloved community, will shine just a little bit brighter in our lives and in our world. May it be so.
To support the UUCT with your generous financial gifts, please go to the UUCT website and click on the Click Here link to donate. It will take you to our donation page, and you can securely make your donation to the church. Thank you.
The people who lift me up. Gonna ride with the people who share the load. Leave the haters and the fakers on the side of the road. Gonna be with the people who believe in me. Gonna stand by the people who stand by me. Gonna lend them a little of my elbow grease. I'll walk with the people, walking hand in hand. Gonna stand with the people who take a stand. I'm gonna dream with the people who dream of light. Sing a lullaby to chase away the night. Tie myself to the people who set me free. Stand by the people who stand by me. Gonna work with the people who work for peace. Gonna lend them a little of my elbow grease. I'll walk with the people, walking hand in hand. Gonna stand with the people who take a stand. I'm going back to the people who have my back. Leave the haters and the fakers along the side of the track. Took me way too long to say enough is enough. Gonna lift up the people who lift me up. 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 Lift me up.
We extinguish our chalice this morning with these words from Max A. Coots, entitled After. After the words, a quiet. After the songs, a silence. After the crowd, only the memory recalls the gathering peace and justice that have need of you after the words, the music and the gathering. God grant you the depth of dedication to justice. God grant you the will to be an apostle of peace.
Please join us in singing number 1020, Wo Ya Ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah,
And that concludes our worship service for today. We are glad you joined us. Go in peace.